and welcome to the Left Wing from Paris. Well, today was a day off for the Ireland players, so it's a good chance to look ahead to this weekend's other cracking World Cup quarter-final at the Stade de France between France and South Africa. Now, later in the podcast, I also have a chat with former New Zealand Maori coach Colin Cooper. He used to coach Jamison GibsonPark at Taranaki and also James Lowe with the New Zealand Maoris. But first, I had a chat with Welsh journalist Illtud Dafydd, who's living here in France, and he's been following South Africa and France this week.
Normal test weeks, I'm always 100% on France, be that home or away. But because of World Cup and logistics and stuff, I've mainly been sticking up Lille, which is now on the train, which has been fantastic. And then back this week, it's been nice to return to my beloved Le Bleu, maybe. And also covering South Africa is always a lot of fun because Rassie Erasmus is around, who's never quiet, so that's good.
Yeah, what anything in particular you enjoyed from Rassie this week?
Just everything, really, because I know in Ireland he's very well respected because of his time in Munster, and he's got Jack Nebas there and Felix Jones as well, so there's an Irish touch to it. And I just love how Rassie plays the game with the media so well. Not just the media, it's not just inward looking, also outward looking. He appreciates that rugby needs a bit of a buzz around it, and it needs a bit more narrative maybe around games. He's happy enough to throw a few curveballs out on social media, and also a few curveballs during games, like the whole traffic light system. He opened up a bit about it this week, saying that it was used for 4 different things, but without going into too much detail. So yeah, he adds a bit of colour, and he almost brightens up your day whenever you hear him in press conferences, which is always nice.
Yeah, and he said this week that accused France of maybe sometimes trying to con referees or like that they simulate. He said, I think they do well. What they do well is that they hit close to the high tackle line. They really show that to the referee. They do simulate sometimes a little bit, which is clever, you know. He got that in there.
Yeah, exactly. I think you mentioned the high hits, you know, because his I don't think his first language is English, and he explained to us that sometimes English is a bit difficult for him. Like, I understand that I grew up speaking Welsh, so it was quite funny having some sort of similarities between him on that level. And and he said that, and you weren't quite sure what it said, but at the same time, when you look back at what happened to Maxime Luco against Italy, that he made a little meal out of it from the Simone Ferrari challenge from a ruck time. And then also, I remember back to Marike Kobete, his high tackle on Anthony Gelange in the 2021 July series. And Gelange he milked the cows until he came home with that tackle. And so Rassie's got reason, definitely.
Yeah, we'll get more into South Africa in a moment. But just on France, they named their team tomorrow for the quarterfinal with South Africa. Antoine Dupont returned to training, so he's on track to start. 100%.
It would be strange for him not to start. He's never started on the bench under Fabien Galtier. So it would be weird to kind of leave, or any team to leave your best player and probably the best player in the world on the bench, hoping that he can do something in the last half hour. And especially the fact he's a captain as well, that adds another element to it. And I think it'd be weird to leave him off the bench. So he'll start. And the other headaches that Galtier's probably got is among his back row. Does he go with Anthony Gelon, who's been captain for a while, who's just been Antoine Dupont's roommate since they're about 15, 16? Or does he go with Francois Cross, who's a bit of a heavier ball carrier and maybe a little bit better on the floor? But that's the debate, really. That's the only headache that Galtier's really got.
Yeah, and some talk as well when Dupont originally got that injury that he might wear a face mask, but he's been wearing a scrum cap in training, so that's what he's likely to wear on Sunday night.
Yeah, I'd say that 9 times out of 10 he probably will wear the black scrum cap given to him by Adidas. I think it is, because that's his main sponsor. And he looks all right in training. He looks okay. He stayed away a bit. He stayed a bit away from contact during the full training session that they have, the full-blown high-intensity sessions that they do. But I think the French Rugby Federation smartly, intelligently put up a video of him doing some practice tackles on 140-kilo Uni Antonio earlier this week to prove a point to South Africans that, despite wearing a scrum hat, he can still tackle quite well.
Yeah, and I saw Gregory Aldred say earlier this week that he's no concerns about Dupont being exposed to more damage against the Springboks. And he said that we know that in rugby, if you touch the face, it's a red card. But will the Boks go after Dupont?
It's weird. I hope they do, because it's part of the sport, isn't it? That you do have to go a little bit. You treat every play differently, and especially at halfbacks. Whenever an opposition plays Ireland, Johnny Sexton's always a target. I remember Conor Murray was a target a few years ago, especially from his box kicks. So it's part of the game, isn't it? You target your opposition best players and you play on the border of legality, that's fair enough. And then it's up to the referee to decide what is legal and what is not legal when people decide to do that. If they go near the head with a high tackle and it gets wrong, then sadly something bad could happen to Dupont. But at the same time, it's a red card. Is it worth losing a player for a whole game or half a game or last 20 minutes when you know that you may have like ruined someone's life because potentially Antoine Dupont's injuries are that serious? I don't think South Africa will do that. But South Africa, they're a physical team, aren't they? They don't cut corners when it comes to the up front, and I'm sure there might be a few late hits, especially going on to the but I doubt they'll target the face. But hey, he's the best player in the world. And if he's not on the pitch or if he's a bit iffy or is a bit not 100%, then it always works in the favour of the opposition.
Yeah. There seems to be some talk as well that France could go with a 6-2 split on the bench. And if that happens, then Jamison might miss out. What are the chances of them going 6-2 for this?
Yeah, that's a lot of the discussion this week. Scrum coach William Salvat earlier in the week refused to really say what the plan was, but it looks like they might go 6-2. Johan Moy, fan of the centre, will be there because he can also cover wing. Maxime Luku will be the scrum half. What's handy is they can play back row Seko Makalu as the sixth forward because he's playing the wing before. He played in the wing against South Africa, came off the bench November 2022. He runs, I think, 35 kilometres an hour. They've clocked him at his top speed, which is not bad. It's almost as quick as Kylian Mbappe, I think. So that kind of, when you have that comparison, he's got gas. Okay, defensively, he might not be the most solid guy, but he's got speed. And then, he's also physical. And over the ball, it's always handy to have an extra back row if needed on the pitch. So yeah, it's not something that France have scared to do. Fabien Galtier is quite similar to Rassie Erasmus and Jackman, where he's happy to be innovative. Okay, maybe not in a World Cup quarterfinal, but he's done it in the past. And yeah, he'll try things and he'll see what's needed, especially with South Africa's massive pack. Then 6 forwards on the bench is always handy.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk before, like during the pool stage and beforehand, about us Irish people would have preferred to play or avoid playing France in the quarterfinal and play New Zealand instead. Which team would France have preferred to play, Ireland or South Africa?
That's a cracking question because I tried to ask people this, the French people, and maybe the Irish like to think about rugby a lot, in sport, and they really not philosophize, but they look ahead to it a lot and all permutations, etc. When the French are more like, oh, let's just cross that bridge when we get to it. And maybe that's because they're quite a bit more relaxed, a bit more Latin. They're like, oh no, maybe a bit of Spanish, mañana, tomorrow will come, well, tomorrow comes, sort of thing. And they were happy to face whoever, really. And the Irish, they've beaten the Irish in the past, in the Galtier's era mandate, and they've also lost to Ireland when they've only beaten South Africa. They've never tasted defeat against the Springboks during this kind of, since Galtier's been in charge. So they're a bit more positive regarding South Africa. And I think what France do have is they have individual game breakers that can maybe win the game over South Africa, maybe when Ireland, because Ireland's system is so good that they can nullify that.
Yeah. Oh, listen, any area that we can feel a bit anxious about, us Irish are really on that bandwagon. So where do you see this game being decided? And actually, so South Africa obviously as well have delayed. They usually name their team 4 days before a game, and they've delayed it as well until tomorrow morning. So, because Rassie was saying he's still deliberating over what kind of split he'll go with on the bench. I thought after the Ireland game that we may not see the 7-1 again. What do you think for this game?
Yeah, he's tweeted earlier this week or today, I think, saying maybe he might go 4-4, which would be funny as well, So yeah, he likes to put the cat amongst the pigeons. I think that's the saying in English. I reckon he might go just 6-2. Really, 7-1 is a bit extreme. It's a lot of fun, isn't it? It puts a lot of pressure on Cobus Reinach and Kwagga Smith. But no, I think 6-2 is probably the sensible option. 5-3 might be a bit too conservative, and he doesn't need to do that. So yeah, I reckon we'll see a 6-2 from Rassie and a 6-2 from Fabien Galtier.
Who's he starting at 10? Rassie.
Oh, yeah, they've been quite cagey on that this week, South Africa. They really have, because both of them are so different, I would say. And the goal kicking problem that the media and everyone else is talking about and is worried about, apart from them internally, is such a big factor, especially in knockout rugby. You need those 3, 6, 9 points to keep you going, keep you knocking. Munster did it so well with Ronan O'Gara in the late 90s and the 2000s. Rugby hasn't changed that much in that point, really, in the past decade and a half or so. I think he might go with Andrew Pollard. He's a trusted lieutenant. He knows what he's doing. He's played a bit. He spent 3 years in Montpellier. He was the highest paid player in world rugby when he was there. I think earning 1.2 million euros a season. So, and he kicks his goals. He's been there before. He's won a World Cup with him. He knows exactly what he does. When Manny Libbok can open up the game a bit, and he's kind of been almost a symbol of how South African rugby or South Africa rugby has changed over the past 4 years, is where they've not gone away, but they've far less dependent on the set piece in the defence. They look to play a bit more with Libbok at 10. They can do that. When Andre Pollard, when he was in the under 20s, he could do that, but he's kind of lost the element to his game. He's become a far more tactician. He's almost like a statesman at fly half. He bosses things. He makes sure that everything works in front of him, and then when he needs to be called on, he deals with it. I think he'll go with Pollard though, just because you need someone dependent kicking at the sticks.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and especially after they left those 11 points out on the pitch or missed those 11 points against Ireland a few weeks ago. So is there a growing, what is the mood kind of, amongst local French people now that Dupont, he will be back, for that quarterfinal? Is there a confidence there? What are you feeling?
Yeah, it's funny. In 2007, the last time France hosted a World Cup, it was Chabal mania, and I think now we've got Dupont mania big time. He's on billboards everywhere. Anyone who's been over France, and there's tens of thousands of Irish people have come over, you'll see him on billboards, on posters, on bottles of water, on yogurt pots, whatever. He's there. He's everywhere, and he's so important. That's what when he broke his cheekbone, firstly, that's what everyone was talking about. There might have been Paris Fashion Week going on. The Pope might have been down in Marseille, but no, everyone was talking about Dupont's jaw, face, whatever you want to call it, however it happened. And yeah, he's so important, and everyone loves him so much because he's such a nice character and humble individual, and he is so important to this team. And I think French public realise that when he's playing, they can beat anyone in the world, and they can beat them well, like they did against the All Blacks in 2001, like they did against South Africa, Australia, South Africa as well. It wasn't too well, but in November, and then like they've done so far in this World Cup, especially against the All Blacks in the opening game. So it helps to have Dupont in your team, definitely, and he builds confidence around not just the players on the team, not just people in the stands, but there's 60 million people around France watching as well, hoping for the best. And the French realise how important he is, and I think it all goes down to him, really.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agreed with what Razzie said earlier this week, that he's never seen Dupont sweat on the pitch. He is so emotionless when he plays. So what way do you see this game going?
I have no idea. I'm sorry. I apologise. It's such I think every day I've changed my opinion. Or even like between every meal.
That's like me with Ireland and New Zealand. Yeah, I'm flipping and flopping.
But that's what makes it so great. I think that's what makes it so. Everyone's so excited for these, especially on all 4 games, really, because they're all interesting. But especially the two between the two top 4 teams in the world that no one knows the way they're going to go. The coaches must have been tearing their hairs out this week, thinking how do they approach this game, because the quality opposition is just incredible. They're probably the 2 best quarterfinals the World Cup will have ever seen regarding quality on the pitch. And but no, I think for the good of the game, let's just say, and the fact that I've got a lot of French neighbours everywhere, let's go France.
Yeah. And before you go, so are we looking at an Ireland-Wales World Cup semi-final then? We'll have to get you back on.
I've got a very good friend who's a huge Irish fan, and I don't think I could live with him for that week. So no, hopefully not.
Oh, you don't? Yeah, no. What way do you see the other quarterfinals going?
I think it all depends on Sexton, how New Zealand maybe treat Sexton is how South Africa treat Dupont. If they go at him early and try and nullify him to a certain extent, that could be interesting. But I think Ireland have the systems and have everything in place to win it. It all depends on how the All Blacks deal with Sexton, if they have that individual brilliance, which they can do to win a game. The other 2, I'd love to see Fiji win, because who doesn't love Fiji? And also, who doesn't love watching England lose, really, apart from the English? So hopefully Fiji can have a bit of fun in the Marseille sunshine down there, and also after back Wales against Argentina. Argentina have been the most disappointing I've seen them in a long time, really. Some Argentina journalists have said that they are barely at 60% of what they can play. So hopefully they're like that on the weekend, and Wales will win as well.
Yes, we'll see how this weekend's quarterfinals go. Now, like I said at the top of the podcast, I also had a chat with former New Zealand Maori coach Colin Cooper, who used to coach Jamison GibsonPark at Taranaki, and also James Lowe with the New Zealand Maoris. And he worked for years with GibsonPark at Taranaki, and even though he'll be trying to take down the All Blacks this weekend in the World Cup quarterfinal, Colin is very proud of everything that GibsonPark has achieved with Ireland rugby.
Back in 2010, we had a great relationship with Gisborne Boys High, and he came over as an academy player, and along with Blade Thompson, who played for Scotland, Charlie Ngatai, who ended up being an All Black, and those guys, and there were a number of others that ended up playing super, but those three in particular, we're very, very proud of. And so I always remember Jamison coming over, and he had a natural aerobic ability. He had a big motor on him, and he could run, and he was quick, and he had these skills, but what he lacked was size. And so we said, you need to build you up, Jamo, and you need to start practicing your contestable kicks from 9. And I always remember him saying to me, Coops, I never worried about kicking. All my coaches just said, run, boy, run. And you can understand that with his aerobic ability and his skills. And so he just developed so well. And he couldn't quite make the super teams here because he didn't. In New Zealand, I think our halfbacks were like at least forwards with skills, and because of his size, he didn't quite fit in there. And I had him in the New Zealand Maoris, and with the New Zealand Maoris, he just, he was incredible. He just carved up because of his skill, and then it didn't surprise me when he ended up leaving and going to Leinster and to Ireland. And I travelled to Munster, and I really enjoyed the people there. We played Munster and the New Zealand Maoris, and we got given a bit of a hiding by the Munster boys and shown the toughness of the Irish and how they play. And so, but I enjoyed the people. So for him going there, it was great to see, and he's just developed even more. And the way he's got his kicking game now, and Conor Murray has always been in New Zealand eyes as the man that can control the game from 9 with his contestable kicks. And for Jamison to be at his level and starting some of the tests ahead of him is just a great contribute to him of the work he's done and his maturity and how he's grown his game. So we're all very, very proud of him back home in New Zealand.
And you said there it was his aerobic ability that stood out to you about Jamison.
Well, it was the skills with aerobic ability. Like, he was always there. He'd always pop up. He had his offloading game, his stepping, his speed. He had great speed. And I even see now the Irish, he's covering the wing, which didn't surprise me because he is quick. He covers it. All he had to do was really hard, because remember, he had no kicking game at all. He never kicked the ball. He got told, run it, don't kick it. And over those years, he's developed that. And to be where he is now, playing probably one of the biggest test match that's coming up in world rugby, and for him to be, in that number 1 world team, Ireland, is just incredible.
Yeah, and when you start, obviously you moved to Leinster, started representing Ireland. What was the reaction back there to that?
Oh, just proud of him. He took his wife, he's got his children, he had lots of responsibility. He's a humble kid, but he was such a neat guy, and, he was a great team man. He was always for the team. So it doesn't surprise a lot of us that he is where he is, but it took work. We knew that it would take a lot of work. So having family support, having his wife supporting him, and having a real purpose for his children, those are all the things that I can see that has driven him to where he is.
And when you see somebody, a player born in New Zealand representing another country, does it kind of hit home? Ones that got away, of course, the same, Bundee, Aki, James Lowe as well.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. I don't feel like that. James Lowe, he was in the New Zealand Maori team with me, and he had the best left foot kick in New Zealand. We didn't take advantage of that. Ireland's got that now with them. He was doing that back in 16, 17, back here in New Zealand with his left foot. So yeah, it's just we're just so wrapped and proud of them, rather than disappointed. Bundee Aki, I didn't have time with Bundee, so he's the only one. But it's just when I saw him on in the last game, the Scotland game, when he was with his children, it was just incredible, and I think we're all very proud of those boys.
And so, what will it be like for you watching this weekend's game now?
We're excited here because it's a contest, and I think when we go and play South Africa, we don't know which way it's going to be, and our Ireland is one of those countries we don't know which way it's going to go. Ireland deserve their number one ranking, and we're just excited and nervous. I'm an All Black fan, so I'd say Ireland would be my second team.
My thanks to Colin for also coming on the podcast. Now, a reminder that the Left Wing live show will be coming to the 3 Olympia Theatre on the 19th of October. Will and Luke will be joined by Stephen Ferris and Bernard Jackman. Go to ticketmaster.ie for more details on that. Well, that is it from us. We will be back with another podcast tomorrow from the Stade de France on the eve of Ireland's World Cup quarter-final against New Zealand. Thanks for watching.